This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 471 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Our sponsors this week are HorseLovers.com and you, our terrific auditors. This week I speak with a true adventurist and filmmaker. He has ridden the Mongol Derby twice and over the last 3 years has worked on a film about the Mongol Derby called All the Wild Horses. The film is due out this fall and we hear all about it, and it stars a listener favorite, Devin Horn. You heard her on our coverage of the Mongol Derby over the past couple of weeks. Plus, the HorseLovers.com product review is the Aficionalis Protective Flower System. What the heck is that? Well, we'll find out. Listen in. This is Glenn DeGeek, and you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Well, you still have until August the 28th to get your entries in for Equestrians Have Talent. Horse Nation, I'm happy to say, is now involved. This is a joint project, and they're announcing it today. So we're looking forward to getting entries from their audience as well. And I'm very excited also that Kristen from Horse Nation will be co-hosting those episodes with me. I have about 20 entries. We'd love to get 10 more so we can spread this over 3 different episodes. We're hoping to play about 10 entries per episode and then have voting at the end of each episode. Have you guys vote for the winners, and we'll have the top 3 back on the final episode to have a showdown on the final episode to name the official first ever Equestrians Have Talent champion. Now, what's involved? Well, a trophy. That's what's involved. We're going to have a trophy with one of our mics on the top. It'll be very cool for you, and also bragging rights for the next year to say that you are the Equestrians Have Talent champion. So we want you to get your entries in. You can find all the details. And by the way, if it's bad, it's good. Think Gong Show meets American Idol. Think Gong Show meets America's Got Talent. Somewhere in the middle there. If it's bad, you're likely to get more votes because listeners will love it and think it's funny. So we don't care what you do, whether you sing, whether you play an instrument. We've had a couple of those. You know what we haven't had is groups. We haven't any barn groups get together and sing in the barn or poetry or whatever. Think creatively and come up with some great ideas and send them in. The other thing, if you've been following the Mongol Derby, if you read the Mongol Derby as their tweets, they have some very funny tweets. And if you read some of the funny tweets as a racing announcer, how funny would that be? Haven't had one of those yet either. So think outside the box, people. Get creative. And you can get those in today and find out where at horseradionetwork.com/talent. horseradionetwork.com/talent. Helena is doing great. She loves her new job and may have found a little farm near where she is now to buy. So they're working on that. But she's very happy and she says hello to everybody. And we're very excited for her. Let's get to our first guest now. And coming up is Ivo Marlowe. Ivo has ridden the Mongol Derby twice. He is a filmmaker and a movie producer. And he has put together a movie. It took him 3 years to do it, called All the Wild Horses, about the Mongol Derby, starring our very own friend, Devin Horn. So we're going to hear all about that, all about what life is like in Mongolia for the natives, what they use their ponies for. We talked about all kinds of different stuff that I think you're going to find interesting and is really going to make you want to see this movie. So here we go.
The idea of the wide open spaces of Mongolia and the feeling of insignificance in that enormous space, along with horses, I felt would give me an amazing spiritual experience of an otherworldly place.
I think the way of life we're going to see here will not last forever.
I think they're dangerous, but they're also brilliant, and my horse at home would never do half the things these horses would do.
my fears are getting kicked in the head by one of these rank little Mongol ponies. You know, we saw a guy today come off, 7 people. There's already been blood shed out here today. My fear is that I will be medevac to Thailand tomorrow night.
Greg, this is Medic 1. We've got 2 casualties with us.
Well, Ivo, thank you so much for joining us on the Stable Scoop Show. We really appreciate you being here.
I'm very glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
All the wild horses racing across 1,000 kilometers of Mongolian wilderness on wild horses. Did the idea for doing the movie come before you decided to be one of the crazy people riding in the Mongol Derby, or did it come after?
It came after, actually, because I grew up with horses, like most of the riders on the Derby, and I just wanted to ride it. And then because my background is filmmaking, that's my day job. So I just applied to be a rider on the Derby, and then it takes a long time to get accepted. You have to kind of apply, you have to prove that you're good enough. And once you get through all that and you get accepted, you realize this is chance of a lifetime. So at that point I thought maybe I should try and film it somehow. And then I started thinking about how to do it. At first I was going to make it like a little video or something, and I thought that's kind of boring. So went full on into it, and contact loads of companies that might be able to pitch in. So Red Bull came in first time and gave me some funding to do the first part of the shoot, and then it kind of grew from there. And then we shot it over 3 years in the end. Yeah,
I mean, you had planned on it being 1 year?
Yeah, I thought because I took a crew over to Mongolia, and they were going to film it with a crew car and everything. And then I was also going to ride it myself and film it. So we had basically 2 cameras on the go. And I thought that was going to be good enough. But unfortunately, it turned out that, the stories are really hard to track, some of them, because it's just people just get lost in the wilderness.
It's a big space.
And you can't, yeah, exactly. It's a very big space, and people you can't find them anymore. So in the end, I had to kind of concede in the edit afterwards that it just didn't quite work yet. So I had to decide to go back next year and ride it again and film another rider. And then it kind of grew from there. And then eventually I went back a third time to film Devon Horn, who's on Horse Radio as well. And she really made the movie what it is, because it was a really good, like what I'd call the spine of the story. So she kind of became one of the spines of the film, of a 90-minute film. And so I'm very glad I went back. And so now we have finished film.
You see so many documentaries where they cover, a big open event like this.
Yeah.
But they forget that it's you have to be invested in somebody or 2 somebodies, or 3 even, but 2 or 3 in a film like this to really make it work.
Yeah, that was the big challenge. But my background is script writing, so I was always going to make it like a proper movie. I didn't want to make kind of like a boring documentary or even the other extreme is what they do at Red Bull a lot, which is basically kind of glorified music videos with lots of action, but
right.
Not really any story.
Right.
And so I wanted to make a proper story where people watch it and they don't really even worry about the fact that it's a documentary. That was the aim. And so, a lot of that happened in the edit, to find those moments where people really showed their grit and the emotion and the ups and downs and really kind of get that out on screen. So that's why I think that's probably one of the reasons why it actually took about a year and a half, just the post-production, just the edit of the film. But yeah, and then
it really has to make it has to do a lot of things. It has to make people laugh. It has to make people cry. It has to make people worry. You know, it has to bring out all of those emotions to make it really good. And in the editing, that's where you make that happen, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we did it like basically you kind of have to sort your footage into themes. You know, you kind of sort it out by, you know, accidents, drama, and, you know, bad weather and tears and, you know, and jokes and all that. And then you kind of put it together with those emotions in mind. And I wrote a proper script and, you know, kind of structured it like a proper movie with a kind of 3-act structure where you have a beginning, then you have a big point, like a turning point, you know, and then you have the big bulk of the movie, and then you have a big, good and fast climax in the end. And we just about managed to do that. But it was, it took 3 years to make it, basically.
I know that a lot of it's done in editing, having just been involved in a movie. They had, 800 million hours of footage they had to go through to whittle it down to an hour. And that's tough. And I don't know that I have the patience for that. So bless you, by the way. I don't have the patience for
that was the same with us. It was, the first cut was 3 hours, and then had to cut it down to, we had to get it down to 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. Because the idea is that you have to, documentaries are hard to sell in anywhere, and so you have to give a fighting chance. And the way you do it is by cutting it down to kind of under 90 minutes, because then it fits into the slots of all the broadcasters and networks, because they never really have a longer slot than that. So yeah, that's what we did, and we came very tight and fast in the end.
What was the hardest part of actually the filming process? Because you're over there, you got 1,000 kilometers to cover. I watched the trailer. Did you have a drone along?
We did, yeah. And the funny thing is that in the last 5 years, drone technology has come a really long way. And so the first year round, we had, first drone, and it was really hard work to even get that off the ground because the weather's pretty extreme. So we got probably 2 minutes of actual usable footage first time, and then next year it was a little bit better. But we took a drone and tried to kind of always integrate that into the story, because otherwise what you end up with is beautiful aerial shots that don't really mean anything,
right?
And that gets boring quite quickly, really.
When I was at allthewildhorsesmovie.com watching the trailer, which we played before you came on, the thing, and also following, Leslie and her adventures over there in this Mongol Derby and all the pictures. Here, everything seems so crowded, especially on the East Coast. When you live on the East Coast, it seems like there's just people everywhere, right? And then you see this footage and you realize there really is a place in the world where there's a lot of nothing.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the big attraction for people to go there and, and really be on their own and be, fending for themselves in a way. And that's also the idea of the race. And that's really good. And that's also the idea of the organizers who, they're really protective of it. And that's great. So, that was actually almost a problem when filming. You can't just hang around the riders if you're not one of them. So that was one of the reasons why I wrote the race twice, because that's the only way you get those stories. And because otherwise you crowd the riders and then there's a car, there's a car kind of following them, and that's not the idea of that adventure. So you need to honor that and let people kind of do their thing and let people ride it alone if they want to.
You earned your cred, in other words. You earned it. It is, there have been a lot of correlations made to the Hunger Games this year. We've been having a lot of fun with that, with Leslie and, the tributes and the whole thing. I mean, we just haven't having a lot of fun with it. But, when you think about it, with you guys, the alumni and everybody that have ridden it and everything, there is a lot of correlation to the Hunger Games. Now, we're not killing people, and that's not the goal. But it's so funny, the correlations we had this year to that.
That's right. Yeah, that's also the way it works in the organization of the race in a way, because they, all the staff. There's medics, there's vets, and there's referees, and there's quite a lot of people. I think there's probably about at least 10 or 15 4x4s kind of on the go during the race, and all these people try and kind of stay in the background. So you don't really see them much as a rider. And that's the idea of it, that you kind of find your own way. And but these people are there
watching.
Exactly. So they watch you on the tracker, and they're there if something goes wrong, and stuff goes wrong. A lot of it. Yeah. I mean, this year I think it's I've lost track. I think it's at least 10 proper injuries, really. Broken collarbones and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you really do get appreciation even just watching your trailer of the ponies. I think that we at home don't. I mean, we know that they're bucking and carrying on sometimes, but you'd get a true appreciation for how scary that is when you watch even just your trailer. The movie's definitely going to bring that out. And for every rider, I mean, non-riders watching it will think, "Wow, that's crazy." Riders watching that think that's really nuts. That's just really nuts.
That's right, yeah. And the thing is that that's not really overstating it. That's really how it is. And there's a very good reason for it. If you talk to the herders, they keep their horses. There's 50, 60, 70, 80 horses in one herd. And those horses need to fend for themselves, more or less, summer and winter. So you can't have them too hand-reared, because then they're used to you giving them food, and then they lose their instincts. And these horses, they need to know about wolves. They need to know about the wildlife, and the winters. The winters are very, very harsh, and not lots, but horses. Half the livestock died. Like last winter, it was one of those very bad winters. Minus. I don't even know the temperature. That was minus 40 Celsius, so that's pretty bad. Yeah, and so they lose a lot of livestock.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit today because we have a little extra time, and I wanted to also thank you for helping out with our live coverage on Facebook of this year's Mongol Derby that we did over the past week. But I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the lifestyle. They live in are they called, what's the technical name for those buildings? The Gurs?
The Gurs, yeah.
They live
that's the Mongolian name for a yurt. It's the same thing.
Okay, how do they stay warm in those minus 40 temperatures? This is cloth.
They have, it is, but it's 3 layers. So there's kind of felt. The first layer is felt, and then there's another layer, and then there's a waterproof layer on top, and they have these really nice ovens in the middle. With the.
But there's no trees. That's what was my question: is what are they burning?
They burn a lot of the dung of the animals. So that's the main fuel. Really, is the dried horses, sheep, all of them. They basically take all the dung and dry it, and that's the fuel. And it works really well.
Well, it's worked for thousands of years. I mean, that's what they've used for thousands of years. Yeah.
And they have a proper, exhaust pipe going up through the roof, so it's not like you get smoked out or anything.
Right. And it stays that warm in there that they can survive. And are they all in one big open room?
They are, yeah. They are all. Well, they often have more than one gur per family. But I think in winter, most of them sleep in the same gur because it's just warmer. It gets cold for sure, but with the fireplace and everything, it's bearable. But it is, to be fair, it is very harsh, and you can't compare it to a nice apartment in the city for sure.
Yeah, we're sitting here in my air conditioning in Florida because it gets hot there too. So what do they, I know this sounds like a stupid question, but what do they use their ponies for?
They use them for everything. So they eat them as well, and they use the milk for lots of stuff. But one of the main things is a drink called Iraq, which is fermented mare's milk, which is their kind of equivalent of a beer or something. So if you want to get drunk, you drink Iraq or you drink vodka at night, and then it's so what they do is they separate the foals from the mares early on. For some time every day, and then they kind of milk the mares. So they get quite a bit of milk out of each mare. But then obviously once the foals are separate from the mothers, then they stop milking them. But so
that's the same way it works with cows. It's the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not as much milk to be had, but same thing really. And then then they obviously use them for riding, and it's also a prestige thing. So there's also that idea of the more horses you have in a herd, the bigger you're standing, and also the better the horses are, the better they look. That all works towards your own reputation as a herder. So if you only have measly 10 horses, then you're not really anyone. So
Well, this is amazing because pretty much they're doing the same thing they really did 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. They've been doing exactly this for at least 1,000 years, probably longer than that.
Longer, yeah. I just got done watching Genghis Khan on Netflix, so. I was just like, okay, the series was really good. Apparently they've canceled it. I was very disappointed, but because they had a lot of ponies in that, and it was really cool to see because they didn't have Frisians. They actually had what looked like Mongol ponies. Every movie has Frisians, right? It doesn't. Apparently Frisians were the only horse we've ever had through history.
That's right.
so it was good to see.
I think they shot a lot of that in what's called Inner Mongolia, which is kind of China, and then they shot quite a bit of it in Kazakhstan. So it's all it's basically Mongolia. It's all the same kind of area, same kind of landscape, same horses for sure.
Well, when is the movie going to be available? We're all excited to see it. When is it going to be available?
So it's we just had the first. Well, we had the world premiere 2 weeks ago in Ireland, and and we won the best international documentary, which is really nice and unexpected because it's the first screening ever. And now it's going to festivals. So it's going to festivals in America, in Canada, and Asia and Europe. And then we're talking to Netflix. They're very interested to take it probably early next year. And before that, we'll get probably short cinema runs in a few cities in the States and Canada and hopefully the UK and Europe as well. And that will be the cinema ideally will happen around late November. The only problem with that is, just to put a qualifier right in there, is that November is always the busiest.
And all the Christmas movies come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get theirs into November.
It might be better waiting for January.
We'll see. It'll really depend on each country. We'll see how that works. But the end game is Netflix or Amazon. So we're talking to both of them, and we're very confident that we'll get a deal with either one of them. Well, and we'll announce all that on our website. That's allthewildhorsesmovie.com.
And also on Facebook, it's All the Wild Horses,
on
right?
Facebook, yeah. All the Wild Horses Movie again. Okay. So facebook.com/All the Wild Horses Movie. And we put all the announcements on there. So you'll definitely find it there.
And we'll definitely keep our listeners up to date on when this is coming out. I can't wait to see it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. And I'm always excited when a really good, well-made movie about horses comes out that's actually done by a horse person. And I think
that's
you
great.
know what I'm talking about.
Because in this case, it was me being a horse person first and then deciding to make the film.
Please tell me there's no fake winnings. Please tell me.
No, there is no fake winnings.
Thank you. That's the thing that drives
all-
me and our listeners nuts. Is fake winnings.
No, it's all of it is. So maybe I can just explain that quickly. So all the stories, well, basically, we filmed it over 3 years, and that obviously means that there's footage of 3 years in there. And the way this works is that there's like three main stories, and they're interwoven. And they're all true within themselves. All these stories happen exactly as they are in the film, and people come in that order as well. It's just that some of them didn't write together in the same year, but all the stories are true as they are, because that was very important to me, obviously, because I was one of the writers, and I also really wanted to honor, the other writers, and I didn't want to show it to them thinking that, they'll be like, what the hell?
Yeah, that wasn't my experience at all. That's true.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And then maybe I can just say that we'll be at the Equus Festival in New York, which is in November. I think it's the 16th. Yeah. It's around the 16th of November. And then we'll also be at the Tryon International Film Festival in North Carolina in October. And so anyone in that area can come and see the film there.
Well, good luck with it. I am so excited when a really good horse film comes out, and this looks like a really good horse film. And of course, it's something all of us and our listeners are interested in. Thanks to Leslie this year, really bringing it to the Horse Radio Network and making it personal. And now we've all gotten to know Devin too, so I'm really excited to see Devin in the film.
Yeah. Me too. She really makes that film what it is now, and I'm very grateful to her to have allowed us to film her, and for her honesty actually on screen and on camera, because she was very she wears her heart on her sleeve, and it really shows in the movie in a good way.
Well, it's called. You can find it. It's All the Wild Horses at allthewildhorsesmovie.com. If you guys haven't become an auditor yet, you are missing out. And I just had somebody become an auditor that said, if I knew it was only $1 a month, I would have done it a long time ago. That's right. You can become an auditor for as little as $1 a month. You choose how much you want to help support the Horse Radio Network with. We have some people doing $1. We have some people doing $25 a month. It's entirely up to you. You get all treated the same. And what you get for that, you get entrance into the super secret auditor room where they have so much fun. You should have seen all the conversations going on in there following Leslie in the Mongol Derby over the last week. There is always conversations about horse health and all different kinds of things. And what's nice is because this is a paid kind of membership room, the auditor room, there's no negativity. I haven't had to do but one or two deletes in the old time we have had that super secret auditor room. They're so respectful in there. They truly are a family. They become friends, and you too can become one of those. If you would like to have safe conversations that aren't in the public, that you're not going to get criticized for, and ask questions, then that's the place to do it. It also helps support our hosts. So what we do is we take half the money that's donated every month by the auditors, and it gets divided up amongst our full-time hosts here at the Horse Radio Network. So if you want to help support Jamie and Reese and Philip and Wendy, then and Jennifer, you can do that by becoming an auditor. Just head over to stablescoop.com and follow the auditor banner you'll find on the homepage. It's simple, it's easy, and we appreciate your support. If you like what we have, then please consider supporting for as little as $1 a month.
And it's time for the product review. Thanks to horselovers.com, who goes out there into the Horse Radio Network listener world, finds folks who want to test products, and we send it to them, and then they test it, and then they review it here on Stable Scoop. So thanks to horselovers.com, Chantel Williams, who I have on the phone with me right now, is going to review the Officinalis Protective Flower System. Now, I don't think this is a product to protect flowers with, is it, Chantel?
No, it is a different kind of fly prevention system. And it's more based with essential oils and neem oil for the horses that would maybe be allergic to everything like mine.
Ah, so it's to protect from biting insects.
Yes, it definitely does. And it does a pretty good job.
So is it like fly spray? Is it like the little plastic things you put around their neck? What is it?
It is a little multi-step system where what you do is after you ride, if you need to rinse your horse off, you get these little packets of soap. And the soap is a mix of, I think it was lavender and rosemary essential oils. And you scrub that into the areas where your horse has the most trouble with their flies or at the end of their biting insects. And then you let it sit for 2 minutes and you rinse it off and you're done with that part. If they have any other areas that are a big issue, you can have these little sticky flower petals. And these little sticky flower petals you can put on you can put on the horse. I did notice with these, they don't stay on that great when the horse gets sweaty, but because the sticky part just goes on their fur, they don't break out from it, which is really nice because my mare is allergic to most fly sprays and prevention products out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you take a little dropper then that has an essential oil blend as well, and you put 12 to 30 drops per flower petal. And the flower petals are about half an inch thick and about an inch in diameter. And then you just stick them everywhere like little stickers. It's kind of fun.
I was going to say, this sounds like a good time putting little stickers all over your pony.
You do. You get to put little flower stickers everywhere, and they smell nice.
Interesting.
So for my horse that's allergic to everything, I tried to put the stickers everywhere, and I put them through the ringer to see how well they would work.
Mm-hmm.
They do stick to the horse after they are bathed, but they kind of need to dry a little bit for them to stick with movement, I noticed. I mean, if you stick it on your horse's belly when they're wet and then they go rub somewhere, it's probably going to come off.
Mm-hmm.
If you stick it on them after they're dry, it sticks pretty darn good. I had one flower that stayed on my mare for, I think it was 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And I just kept adding drops of the essential oil blend as needed.
So
otherwise they come out easy.
They come out easy. So you put them on, you put the essential oils on there. How many little flower petals do you get in a box?
30. You get 30 flower petals. And the little soap packets, I think there was 12, but you don't need to, I didn't use a whole packet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would use maybe a third of a packet down her back,
mm-hmm.
and then a third of a packet on her tummy, and then I still had a third of a packet that I didn't really need, so I could use it the next time.
Mm-hmm.
But for horses that definitely have allergies to other fly sprays or horses that have super sensitive skin, this worked really, really well. I didn't need to put her fly sheet on, which was nice.
That's pretty significant.
Bother her.
Yeah,
it didn't bother her. Granted, with it being so dry here this year, we haven't had that many flies because nothing can live, everything's dying.
Well, there you go.
So I mean, if it was in a super intense flying insect climate, I don't know how fantastic it would be, but for our, low to moderate fly areas this year, it wasn't bad at all. For people that have sensitive skinned horses, it's a good option.
There you go. So Your mare, who is, as you said, allergic to everything, got on well with it. So for people who have horses with that frustratingly sensitive skin, it sounds like it's well worth a try.
It is, and it is I do believe, set up to be a 30-day system.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a 15 to 30-day system. So, I mean, you have a pretty good chunk of time there, considering how fast you tend to go through fly spray normally.
Yes. And
with how expensive fly spray gets, I feel like it's on par with the good quality fly sprays.
So it sounds as if it would be an economical thing to try, in addition to perhaps much more kind to your particular horse's skin, because you get one box, one system, as we do this recording on the horselovers.com website, sells for $22.46, and you would easily pay that for 30 days worth of traditional fly spray for your horse. Yes.
Yeah.
And I imagine, since it's full of lavender extracts, it smells pretty.
Oh, it smelled wonderful. She smelled like a flower shop after the bath.
Now, the shampoo packs that they give you, is it liquid? Is it powder?
It's a liquid. It's like a liquid soap.
Okay. Now, do you take the liquid soap and put it in a bucket, or do you put it right on the horse?
You put it right on the horse, and you just barely scrub it in, because you're not trying to scrub it in too far into their skin. You really want to just spread it around their hair.
Oh.
And then you just let it sit for a couple minutes, and you rinse it off.
Now, do you rub it into their hair all over their body, or just certain spots?
You can rub it all over their body if they have, if they're really prone to insects biting them absolutely everywhere with no relief. But with my horse, I just put it on her areas where she seems to be really bothered, which is her belly, underneath her belly. Her bag is a really bad area. So I would actually put the flour on her bag,
mm-hmm.
and then right down her spine. Those are her bad areas. So that's where I use the concentrated shampoo. And then the other areas would be where I put the flower petals. Like on her chest, I'd put a flower petal.
Huh.
Up on her neck by her ears is where I'd put a flower petal as well.
Very interesting stuff. Well, overall, would you recommend this to a friend if they had a horse that had similar issues to yours?
Yeah, I probably would.
There we go. That says it all. Well, thank you very much for spending a little time with us today, Chantel, and reviewing the Officinalis protective flower system. Your horse can help get relief from biting insects and channel his inner hippie. Available from horselovers.com.
Coming up next week on the show, I have an old friend back. She used to host a Western radio show here on the Horse Radio Network. Her name is Tammy Serrance, and she's now a TV star. That's right. She was on one of the most popular TV programs in the country, or probably the world even. We're going to find out about that on next week's Stable Scoop show and what that was like in the filming of the TV show. We also will have an announcement on who the next competitor being announced is for Road to the Horse next year. And I think you're all going to be very excited about it, and you're going to want to attend after you hear this announcement. All coming up on next week's Stable Scoop. That's it for this week. Don't forget, our iOS or Android, go there, search for Horse Radio Network, and you'll find our app. It's in the App Store. It's free, and it's super easy to use. It's now got 15 shows on it because one of our newest shows is called Plaidcast Junior, and it's all about junior hunters and jumpers. It's a very instructional, informational show. So if you have a kid that's into that, or if you're into that, then this is going to be a show that you're going to want to take a listen to. It's called Plaidcast Junior, and you can now find it at horseradionetwork.com or in the app. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we are still gearing up for the new Stable Scoop show. We'll start that immediately after we do the Equestrians Have Talent episodes. So you can look forward to that too. Some of the pieces are coming together, and it looks like a whole lot of fun. That's it for this week, everybody. Take care. Until next week, happy Scoop.